Hello.
Happy Friday. We have some news, some good news. You guys, if you're on my email list, you probably got an email about it, or if you're in the Facebook group, you probably saw a post yesterday, or if you're in Handmade Alpha Academy, you probably got the post in the Facebook group and an email. But we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. You guys have probably seen the update on your Etsy dashboard. There was something, pretty cool in there. But for the most part, when things like this happen, like an Etsy makes positive changes, I always try to not, like I said, I try to not toot our own horn, but this will be the second time that we've done something with you guys. We've gotten the community involved. Keep Etsy Human was the first thing, 2 years ago. And then we did our big seller survey last month. And I don't know if Etsy's listening or if it's just coincidence, but we saw some positive changes. And we need to remember that when Etsy's doing things, that we're asking for, we need to thank them and we need to, tell them to keep doing what they're doing.
Yep.
Because obviously if they're listening to the feedback and, they're sending surveys afterwards, these are more opportunities for us to use our voice. So while we're waiting for everybody to join us, today is an open Q&A. We haven't done one of these in like 2 or 3 months. I like doing one, at least every other month. That way you guys can ask us questions about anything, whether it be Etsy, SEO. I will say that when it comes to tariffs, we're not covering it.
Nope.
Only because it's the number one question that we've had during our last few streams, and we do not know any more than you guys know. That we don't have any golden nuggets of information. I know that this is a confusing time and, a lot of you look to us to provide you with answers, but no one knows what's going on.
We can't have answers until everyone else does.
Yeah, exactly. So real quick, let's just, for just a second, they don't need to be able to read this. Can you just share the screen? I just want to show them what they're looking for. When you log into your Etsy shop, let me go ahead and bump this up a little bit. When you log into your Etsy shop, you should get a big green pop-up. I did want to point out that I've noticed at Target and a couple, different e-commerce sites that tomato prints are popping up everywhere. And they just happened to use a picture of tomato prints to show off some of their new editing features within the mobile app. But just keep that in mind. It's something that I didn't cover in my trends video, but it's something I've noticed popping up everywhere. So if you do any type of kitchen decor, it might be something to take note of. But with the updates, they're allowing us to edit photos in the app. Some sellers, including myself, have the ability to use these features on desktop. It looks like Pam didn't yesterday when we tested, but I do. As always, if you're, editing your photos, just make sure you're not cranking up the saturation all crazy and making people think that they're getting this super vibrant product when in reality, they're not. Just make sure that you're not distorting colors and things. There's all kinds of different updates in here. A lot of them are based on loading times. Our dashboard's got a makeover. But the thing that I most want to highlight and what I emailed you all about yesterday, improving support so you can get help when you need it. We're enhancing support to help you spend less time managing buyer concerns and more time running your shop. Buyers now have more ways to reach out to Etsy for help. Sellers with an active shop in the US, Canada, UK, and Australia, which is most sellers, along with some high volume sellers in other regions, and all star sellers can now reach Etsy support directly from their shop manager. We'll continue to roll out this feature to even more sellers throughout this year and improve response times and quality or support quality to better meet your needs. So what I would recommend you all do is, if you can't find this, just type in Etsy Spring Dashboard Update into Google. It should be the first ad or the first link that pops up. Sorry, I'm not do you guys ever have days where you just can't talk? I just can't talk today. Or if you go to your Etsy dashboard, your back end, you should get a pop-up if you haven't already, and it will allow you to click a button and it will take you directly to this article. Scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll get this here that says to do a short survey. Take this survey. let them know, because they ask you what out of all these features, go through, make sure that you agree with everything that I'm saying. But if you are one of the many sellers who asked for support, especially during our big seller survey that we did last month, it was the number one cited issue that sellers mentioned in that survey. If you were one of those sellers, let them know that you are grateful for the support features. And, the thing that I added into my survey where you were able to, provide additional notes, I said, things about being happy that they're offering support, but just to be sure to, make sure that the support staff is well equipped to handle questions. And there was another question within the survey. I can't remember specifically what the question was, but it was something about any suggestions. And I said something about oftentimes when I've reached out to support in the past, support has directly contradicted Etsy's best practices and the ultimate guide to search. So making sure that support staff is adequately trained in order to better help sellers. Again, just make sure that you take these surveys, share your voice, but this is good. We want to make sure that we're telling Etsy that this is exactly what we wanted, and to keep, pushing in the direction of better support for sellers, because this ultimately is what's going to really help the platform. Now, when I sent my email yesterday, I did have a couple people message me and say, I'm not in the US, Canada, UK, or Australia. I'm not a high volume seller, and I'm not a star seller. That means I get no help. This update is crap. Guys, we gotta start somewhere.
Right.
I understand. And they said that they'll start rolling it out to other areas. It's probably an issue of staffing.
And training too. I mean, they're just now pushing this out, which means they're putting all of their staff on blast to get this updated and trained as fast as possible. They can't just roll it out to the entire world. They won't be able to keep up.
Exactly. So this is a move in the right direction. They said that they're working on it. Obviously, if that's a big concern to you, you can always say, I love that you guys are doing more support. However, I live in, blah, blah, blah. Please consider giving sellers a timeline as to when support will be available in my area.
Remember, it's a needs of the many situation. The majority of Etsy sellers are in those 4 countries.
Yeah.
That's plain and simple. They'll roll it out to everywhere else when they have the ability, but getting it out to their largest user base is what's best for the platform.
Exactly.
God, I can't talk today either.
I know.
What do we do?
I don't know.
I must have drank the stupid juice before bed last night.
I feel like it. Okay, so we can stop sharing for now. There's lots of other updates in there. Not most of them aren't, crazy. Couple things for the mobile app, couple of things for, how our dashboard displays. It looks pretty cool. I'm happy with it. I don't see any issues with it. The main thing that I'm happy about is the support feature, which again, not saying that we directly impacted it, but I'm sure that we helped, because it's just convenient that for 2 years we've been begging Etsy for more support and doing the whole Keep Etsy Human campaign. And then when we published the video, which got 17,000 views in 3 weeks, 3 weeks later, they roll out this update. So again, use this as a motivator. If this proves anything, it's that using your voice does work. Etsy is listening. And, they're trying to hopefully get the platform back to how it used to be by giving us that support, but also, eliminating sellers that shouldn't be there, which again, it's a slow process, but they did get rid of several million shops over the last few months. So
yep.
Cool beans.
But we have absolutely no questions. These are open Q&As. You guys are driving these. We cut off when we run out of questions. So everybody get your questions in.
There were a couple.
There's no such thing as a stupid question. I didn't see any.
Sarah. I'm new. I don't even have an Etsy seller account yet.
Oh,
Guess I'm just wondering if it's worth it, or if I'll eat into my profits, or will I even get eyes on my products? There's no way to tell that you're not going to make money on Etsy if you never start a shop. It's a lot of hard work. You're here though, which means that you're already farther ahead than a lot of people who start their shops. my biggest piece of advice is to make sure that you're doing your research. Etsy is the cheapest platform to start on in terms of fees. It's 20 cents to list your product. They have a new seller sign up fee. It's around, I think, $30
it starts at 15, and some people, the highest I've seen is 40. So
yeah, it looks like most sellers pay around $30 to start. To me, I think that in terms of startup costs for a business, it's well worth it, but success completely depends on whether or not there's demand for the product that you're selling. So I would start treating Etsy like college, when it comes to learning the different areas of what you're going to need to be equipped with to start your shop: product photography, SEO, branding, a target customer identification, building a niche. Those are all things I cover on my channel. Obviously, that's stuff that also, if you want to, join my coaching program, that's coming up in June. That is an option, but I always recommend that sellers spend time with the free material first, because there's a lot of free material on my channel that's going to help you. I've got tons of free courses down below in the video description. The Etsy SEO toolbox is probably the most valuable free thing that I offer. I've got new ebooks. By the way, if you guys sign up for the ebooks, the new Etsy SEO ebooks that I just launched, you get Etsy SEO included with that. So you don't need to sign up for both of them. I made sure to, with the workbooks, include the Etsy SEO with that. But yeah, obviously, you can't predict how things are going to go, but you're more likely to succeed the more time and energy you put into learning and understanding the things that, the mechanics of your business and your target customers. Because there's a lot of sellers that just throw a bunch of stuff out into their shop. They throw things into the world thinking because I'm making them, these things are going to sell, when in reality, there's no demand for the things that they're making. And ultimately, they're just wasting their time. What do we have?
Okay, I should just be doing it here instead.
You're fine.
I contacted Etsy as I've not been able to insert my economic operator in the settings page. It's probably a bug, and when I contacted the support, they didn't know what the EU operator option was. You're probably just going to have to recontact them through the email and try to get another person. I hate that that's the case.
Yeah.
But that's something we see quite a bit with Etsy support, is that some people know stuff and some people don't. And that's the unfortunate thing about having some customer service in-house and some customer service out-of-house.
Yeah.
That's just how it is, unfortunately. Hopefully it gets better with their new rollouts.
Also can't type today. I just have days, man. I have days where words they bump into each other and they come out clumsy, and I don't know why. I wish that I had a magic pill that I could take before live streams that ensured that I was perfectly articulate. Same with when I record. I always record my video that gets posted on Tuesday. I record that right after the Friday bean because my makeup's done and the studio's all set up. And there's some days that I just seamlessly record the whole thing in one take. There are times when I cannot get words out. Did you guys see my video on Tuesday where I couldn't say something about weddings? I put the bloopers at the end because it was so funny. I was struggling to say something.
Other than the ones where she was violently cursing.
Oh, yeah, I cut the violent curses out. But sometimes he has to yell at me to calm down because I'm just down here just so mad.
Cannot talk at all.
You guys know how it is.
Sometimes it's just rough. That's just how it is. eRank gives all but one of my listings an A grade, but many of my listings have a visibility score of 9%. What am I doing wrong?
Okay, so visibility score is from the date that your listing was created. That is the views compared to other listings. So basically, with visibility score, we talked about this more in depth. Pam does such a better job of explaining this one because I don't use visibility score. I know I'm a manager at eRank and I don't even look at my visibility scores.
You don't have to use everything.
Visibility score, it starts from the date that your listing was created. So if you have a listing that's 10 years old, for example, it's going to take a long time to move the needle on your visibility score. Going in and changing a bunch of your SEO is not going to result in a higher visibility score, nor do you need to really focus on moving the needle of your visibility score. It's just information for you to know based on, how your listing compares to the visibility of other listings since the date it was created. So don't fixate on your visibility score. There are some Etsy coaches out there who were saying a couple of years ago that, you should aim for a 100% visibility score. Not only is that not realistic, we seldom see it. Even, working at eRank, we seldom see listings with a 100% visibility score. So again, don't focus so much on that. Grades are something entirely different. Your grade over at eRank is basically how well your listing follows Etsy's best practices. So think of it more like a checklist of, you're doing things right. But what the grade does not do is it does not assess, how good your keywords are. Nor is there a tool to do that, because it's not just the keywords that are factored into rank. There are 7 different factors that Etsy tells us that contribute to our search ranking, and keywords or relevancy is just one of those factors, and it's not even the strongest factor. It's just how you communicate with the Etsy algorithm to basically tell the algorithm what it is that you want to be known for. But there are a ton of other factors. If you sign up for my Etsy SEO Tools Toolbox, the very first course in that free toolbox of courses is a video that covers all 7 of those factors, and basically how the algorithm works and, the things that you can impact to positively impact your search ranking. But what you're seeing 2 completely different stats that have no real correlation with each other, and you're trying to compare them, and it's not. Obviously, that's why you're having trouble. Again, I would only use grades for, if you're listing something new, making sure that you're following Etsy's best practices, or if you have listings that aren't selling and aren't performing, maybe go in there and see if there's any mistakes that you've made or anything that you could be doing better. No matter what your grade is, if the listing is doing well, don't touch it. The grades, it's not like a classroom where a teacher's going to fail you. The grade is just to give you a quick glance, a quick idea of, which listings might need a little help if they're not doing well. Visibility score is just a metric that helps you understand, how visible your listing has been since the creation date, but it's going to take a long time to impact or move the needle on your visibility score, which is why I don't fixate on it. The main thing that I personally use as a good solid metric within eRank is the rank checker tool. Because what that tool is going to do is it's going to strip that layer of personalization that Etsy applies to each shopper. So, if you're one of those people who tries to see where their listings are by searching for them on Etsy, you're just getting a feed catered to you. You're not getting, an average experience. And because Etsy knows that you're popping around your shop a lot, you might see your listings pop up more or less because Etsy knows that you are the shop owner. So from, a shopper perspective, everybody's going to see a different search result when they type in a query. But our rank checker over eRank, what it does is it strips that layer of personalization. It's tapped directly into Etsy's API. So that's like one of the tools that we have that is plugged directly into Etsy. And this allows you to see where on average your listing is ranking in search for whatever search term you want to be known for. So if you're trying to be found for cat mug and you search cat mug in the rank checker, it will show you before personalization what page and what position on that page your listings are showing up for. To me, that is the very, very best tool for really gauging whether or not your keywords are, you're being found for those keywords or you're ranking in search for those keywords. Because like I said, that's coming directly from Etsy's API. So it helps to give you a good average of what, your perfect ideal customer would be seeing, because then Etsy personalizes that experience. If we're talking about that cat mug again, and you're, ranking on page 1, position 20 for the term cat mug, you know that the perfect customer, which is someone who frequently buys cat-related products, Etsy's more likely to, through their personalized search and machine learning, match that cat lever to that cat mug. And you know that you're optimized pretty well for that term because you're ranking high for it. So that's what I would focus more on. That was a long answer, but it was kind of required for your question.
Thoughts about Etsy selling Reverb? Hardly any news about it. Q1 results April 30th. I don't know why they're selling Reverb. I don't know if it's a performance thing or if it's just because it's not that profitable to them. Realistically, if anybody doesn't know what Reverb was a platform that was designed for musicians to be able to resell their old or unique music gear it slowly over time became a place where scalpers could sell boutique guitars that they bought using bots. Which is, I mean, realistically, if you go there, it's just like, hey, buy this guitar for $45,000, but they never sell. And again, not to get political, but there's been some talk about going after scalpers and scalper platforms. So I have a small inkling that maybe they're selling it because they're scared, but it could be because it's underperforming. I don't know. We'll have to look at the quarterly results. But that's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Oh, we talked about it yesterday. Debbie said something about Fender being involved in it. I can't verify.
Really?
Yeah, I can't verify that. But
I wouldn't put it past them.
Maybe
unless Fender's buying it.
Maybe they know that they need to dedicate more money towards support efforts, and they if they got a really great offer that they couldn't refuse.
Well, I mean, Fender and Gibson are both heavily struggling because neither of them acknowledges the fact that they need to modernize what they're doing in order to keep up with a modern audience. Their main audience now is country folk, and even that isn't doing as well as other genres. So
yeah, I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see. My main Etsy shop is dying. What do you mean by dying? I'm thinking of making a Shopify site. Would you guys ever go over how to do that?
3 things here. So I'm going to break this down by three sentences that you've provided. My main Etsy shop is dying. Okay. Why is your main Etsy shop dying? And are you just falling victim to standard seasonality, which many sellers are? In case you didn't see it a few days ago or a few weeks ago, I guess now, we did a Friday Bean where we showed you the eRank Sites tool. Let me go ahead and log in before you share my screen. Okay, you may share. So if we go into Sites Info and we go and we search Etsy.com, and we go to Etsy's reach. Does this match up with your Etsy shop dying? Because it's probably not your Etsy shop dying. It's probably just that this is the time of year when Etsy slows down. And if this matches up to when you started to see a decline, then that's pretty normal. But look at this. You see what's happening here is things are starting to pick up. Yep. And it's going to kind of flounder through summer. Mm-hmm. This is normal. I've been doing this for 12 years now. This is the same pattern that we see every single year. And then around August, we're going to start to see it pick up even more. September, it's going to do even better. October, it's going to do pretty darn good. November, it's going to do the best.
Are you able to expand this out more than 3 months? That's what we need to do. Because if you look at it, this happens every year. Yeah. And what you don't see is the drop where it started at end of December and absolutely was tanking there because it was even higher around that time of year. This happens every year. It's normal. Yep.
Completely normal. And if we go, for those who think that, oh no, Etsy's dying. Let's look at Amazon. Oh, we got to get rid of Etsy. We go to Reach. And it looks exactly the same because
it's identical.
This is what e-commerce does in the spring and the summer. It's completely normal. So that's the first part of your question. Just want to make sure that you're leaving Etsy for the right reasons.
What?
Because having your own website, keep in mind, Etsy is like a shop. You can stop sharing. Etsy is like a shopping mall. You are taking your business and you are putting it in a place where people are actively shopping. They are walking around shopping in the mall and you are in there. And then you just got to wait for people to stumble across you. Having a Shopify is like taking your store and putting it in the middle of a cornfield, all out by itself. And the only way that you can get traffic to it is if you pay for signs that are going to point to it, which is going to be Google ads. It's going to be things like social media marketing. You're not going to see more traffic unless you send it because Shopify isn't a marketplace. It is your own website. So that's part 2. Part 3, would I ever consider creating a Shopify course or teaching Shopify? No, because there are already a million people out there who do it. Chris Heckman has like a 20-hour free video on his channel on how to set up a Shopify site. I am currently building my own Shopify for the very first time, and I am struggling. I maybe someday within my Handmade Alpha Academy, I might, do some Shopify related stuff, but it is going to be a long time. So if you are thinking about leaving Etsy, like right now, there are way better resources than anything that I could provide to you. Like I said, Chris Heckman is awesome. He's the guy that I spoke with at Amplified during our very first session, for those who watched that. Just look up Chris Heckman Shopify full course and look for the one that's like 20 hours long, and then watch it in sections. He's got it actually broken down into chapters, so you can navigate to the specific parts that you want, so you can come back every day and watch a little bit more. But check that out.
I was wondering, because we had this huge drop on April 9th.
Same thing happened over on Etsy.
That was the day that they announced the pause on the tariffs.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Etsy did the same thing.
And here's the thing. We have and again, we're not going to get into the discussions on why, but we have a very financially driven administration who's doing a lot of things that haven't been done to the extreme degree that they are being done before. People are cautious on the amount of money that they're spending because they don't know what the economy is going to look like in the long run.
Right.
Because they're just back and forth on the scale on what's happening. So people are spending less money right now because we don't know, are we about to go into a recession? Are we going to go into a depression? Is the financial situation going to skyrocket and be awesome for everybody? Literally no one knows what's going to happen because no one knows what's happening. Anyway.
Oh, I like that comment. I heard somewhere that if you don't have a handle on driving traffic to your Etsy shop, you shouldn't go to Shopify. It's going to get way harder on Shopify. Or any web, or any own.
If you are the kind of person who thinks you're going to jump on Etsy and just start making a bunch of money, you refuse to get on Facebook, you refuse to do any social media because you don't want to put in any actual effort into the business. You're just hoping that it's going to take. That doesn't happen anymore. Unless you have a really unique situation in terms of what you're selling or who you are selling
something revolutionary, new, you're the only person or one of very few people who sells it. It's super easy for you to rank and search. Which that does happen. It does happen. But if you're doing it, selling POD Mama Bear t-shirts, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Science and Snark said financially driven. Yeah. I mean, we can't say what we actually mean here, but If you're not willing to put it in, Shopify doesn't do any of the work that Etsy does because it's not like who said it here. Shopify is a host, not a marketplace.
Exactly.
It's not a place that's going to do any advertising to you. There are a billion and one,
for you.
Yeah, whatever. Neither of us can talk today. Don't critique me. If you're not willing to put in the work on Etsy, then Shopify's not going to do you any better. If anything, it's going to lose you a significant quantity of money. Now, is it good to have your eggs in more than one basket? Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah. I don't find it to be a bad idea to put, your business cards in your packages, leading people to your Shopify or leading people to your website so you can stop paying Etsy the fee and you can start contributing towards your ridiculously high Shopify fees. But if you think Etsy's fees are bad, running your own website is way worse. So until you get up to the portion where you're making a bunch of sales on Etsy, then doing your own website is probably significantly more financially responsible of you.
Yeah, and the Shopify that I'm building, what I'm currently doing is creating something that's completely new and different and that nobody's really offering. Yes. But I'm not selling it through anywhere else but Shopify. I'm just going to see if I can get some traction letting it go and doing social media marketing for it.
Yep.
Purely to see what the capabilities are so that I can answer questions like these.
Yep.
Okay, Kelsey?
Yep, I have an HAA question. I see that there are coaching calls. However, I work second shift and likely won't be able to attend. Are the calls recorded so questions can be sent and viewed later? Okay, couple things. The coaching calls are just things that she does on Facebook to talk to the students and make sure everything's vibing okay. They are absolutely not part of the content.
No.
They're not required for you to be there. And there's usually only like 15 or 20 people that show up to those. It's not something that's required as part of the course. It's just a Facebook Live.
Yeah, coaching calls aren't that is the opposite of what I want HAA to be. In fact,
it is the opposite of what it is.
Right. I advertise that we are the program for those who don't have the ability to meet on a Zoom call together every Monday at 9 a.m. so we can all drink coffee together and talk about our shops. That's not the type of coach I am. There are coaches that are like that. It's just not me.
Nope.
I've got a kid and a busy schedule and a life, and I know you guys do too. That's why the entire program is pre-recorded. But what I do offer is if you need help on a specific topic, if you need me to go over something a little more in depth, if you want me to cover something in a video format, I will pop into the Facebook group. And, you know, I'm more than happy to do those by request. And then I try to pop in, you know, especially when around enrollment time, because that's when we get the most questions. I try to pop in, you know, every week, every other week, especially around enrollment time, just to see if there's any questions. For the most part, we usually just goof around. There usually aren't a lot of questions. I try to give like the students updates and stuff. Haven't been doing that as much lately because HAA students know that I've been working on major updates for the program. But I do them by request. There's no scheduled things that you need to attend. That's why the program is self-paced for cases exactly like yours, where it's impossible to, you know, all have everybody meet at the exact same time. We're all busy people, and I don't want to put that strain on anybody. So the program is completely pre-recorded, and then you have the ability to come to me for help when you need it, based on where you are in the program, whether or not, you know, you start it right away, or some people, you know, they need to wait a little while to start. It doesn't matter where you are. We don't all have to work at the same pace. I've got students who joined 2 or 3 years ago who are just now starting because they bought it and life got in the way, or they had babies, or they got sick, or, you know, whatever it may be. And they pick it up when they're ready to. I like to compare it to like a book that you can put on your shelf when you don't want to read it anymore, and then you can take it off and pop it open. Or, you know, maybe you read the whole book and then you put it away for a little while and then you open it back up and reread it every year. That's why you guys get unlimited access, and you get access to all the updates and everything that I add to it.
I wanted to address one real quick before I probably ban. I'd love to know the CPM of this channel, and it'd explain why you keep selling the dream of making it on such an oversaturated platform like Etsy.
Oh.
Well, first of all, name the alternative. Second of all, we don't really sell the dream, and I think we're pretty open about the fact that a large portion of businesses aren't going to make it to a self-sustainable income. As a matter of fact, we did a study, if you want to watch, a couple weeks ago when we went over that.
I think you're mistaking us for other YouTubers because you don't know anything about us, and you're just assuming because we're an Etsy channel that we're selling some idea of, you know, being able to make this crazy sustainable living, when in reality, I think we're the only channel out there who really tells you that it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of hard work, and it is possible because I've done it and I do it for tons of other students.
And that downloading the same 50 t-shirt designs on a platform and then sticking them on a POD shirt, or buying the same CAD designs or laser cutter patterns or whatever that everyone else is using and expecting to make any sort of income on that. We're pretty open and upfront about how that's an entire waste of time and that you're not going to get anywhere with it. I don't know. You're a goober.
Yeah, maybe spend a little bit of time with my content and then come back and see how your opinions changed, because I'm assuming you saw, an Etsy live stream. There's some people talking about Etsy. I'm struggling on Etsy, therefore I'm going to take my anger out on these individuals who are just trying to teach and help.
Or are you just a dork who jumps from channel to channel trying to get a rise out of people because you need something for your own self-esteem because you failed in your business ventures?
Yeah, don't get mad at...
Is that what that is? Because I really don't care.
Yeah.
You can get out of here, dork.
Yeah, don't get mad at the people who are doing it just because you're not. Like, maybe try to learn something from them.
You're
That's
here.
not just us.
You're here instead of being behind the camera, so we're doing something right?
Right, exactly.
Not you. Anyway. Is it better to have your prices end in 0.99 or 0.00 like 19.99 versus 20? I heard that 99 cents lowers the perceived value.
It doesn't. I don't think. So there's tons of studies on it that say 99, 97. 97 is always one that I gravitate towards. But you know, Really, it's going to depend on your product, your target audience. It's going to depend on how expensive your product is. If you're selling, $1,000 coffee table, then the 0.99 is not going to be as impactful as if you were selling like a cheap sticker, for example. But I really just recommend doing some testing on your own part, because really it's going to depend entirely on your ideal target customer. It's going to depend on your niche and what the price anchor for your specific industry is, which is the price that comes to mind, or what we believe that a product should be worth based on our experiences with that product in the past. Just like most of us have an idea of, if we go through a drive-through, how much a fancy cup of coffee is. It's probably going to be around, $5 to $7. If we are going through, a cheaper drive-through like McDonald's, we have an idea of how much that coffee is going to cost. It's going to cost, between like $1 to $3. If you go and buy a pencil, at the store, and you only want one pencil, it's going to be a couple cents. We have an idea. So I would try it out. For us, even our coaching program, we end it in 9.7, because I personally feel that when it comes to higher value products, that 9.7 is more effective than 9.9, and that's just through my own testing, but that's completely anecdotal. There are tons of psychology studies, though, that you can, look into when it comes to pricing strategy. There's also a really great book, and I can't remember if this is the book that specifically talks about it, but there is a book called, I think it's called Priceology. Man, I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember specifically which book talks about the psychology of pricing, but I do think that it's called Priceology. That you might want to look into. But again, if you just go into like pricing psychology study 0.99, you should be able to find some decent studies pop up right on Google, or, if you want to chat GPT it, or whatever your preferred search method is. What do we got?
There is a seller in my category who's bullying and filing many false DMCA reports. We have actually made a group chat of all the people she's done it to. What would you recommend to us? Okay, so I've dealt with the legal side of things before. Not necessarily DMC reports, but other coaches
stealing our stuff,
stealing and people not paying what they're supposed to pay. Honestly, at this point, I would reach out to them. Do not threaten legal action. That is a crime. Don't do that. Reach out to them, request that they stop, do your due diligence first, document everything, every conversation you've had, every message you've sent to Etsy support and whatever. If it does not stop after that, you're probably going to need to reach out for legal representation. Now, if you have a group of people, assuming the majority, it's a lot easier if you're all in the same country. It's even easier if you're all in the same state. I know that's a lot more difficult because cross-state border legal action with multiple people is very difficult. Realistically, it's going to take place wherever they are. And if they're not in the same country as you, it gets even more convoluted. But assuming that this person is in the same country as you, I would honestly maybe seek legal counsel, because false DMCA reports, they're a crime as well, and it's affecting your livelihood. And while legal representation is expensive, if there's like 5 of you or 10 of you or more, it gets significantly less less difficult to get representation, because you can just pay one person as a group to sue one person to get them to stop. And at the very least, just to get a cease and desist. If you don't really need a whole lot of proof. If they're filing false DMCA claims and you can prove that you're the original creator of the art, whether that's a date tag, like when you open up the photo that you took, a lot of the times you can look at the metadata on that to see when that photo was actually taken, or when you designed that or downloaded that or put that in there. And you can prove that before they uploaded it. As long as you can prove that, you can probably get a cease and desist sent. And then if they don't stop from there on, they're actively committing a crime. But at this point, if Etsy's not doing anything and they're refusing to stop, legal representation is your only go-to, unfortunately.
You could also collaborate with everybody in that group chat. And since now, most of you probably have that new Etsy support feature, maybe all of you, if you were to strategically, reach out to support and just say, hey, we wanted to let you know that this is happening, just to make you aware. This is negatively impacting us. If you were all to collectively do that, especially when, fingers all get pointed at the same time, that's when Etsy tends to take note. You just need to be, like I said, strategic about it. Don't make it seem like you're bullying this shop. A lot of the times when it comes to sellers like this who are stealing a lot of art and designs,
They're not
and
going to stop.
well, not only that, but you can usually find some major copyright infringement taking place in their shop. And when Etsy actually goes to investigate and they see your stuff alongside a bunch of Mickey Mouse or whatever, they are going to be significantly less lenient towards that seller when they have multiple reports. And on top of that, they can clearly identify. Now, obviously, Etsy can't do anything unless Disney were to report things for infringement, or whoever, those big IP owners are. But it's like when Etsy looks at a shop and they're like, okay, well, clearly the seller is doing things they shouldn't be doing, and we're getting all these reports. Maybe this is something we should look more into. So, just a suggestion. That way you at least have some receipts from Etsy support. You have some chat history. So Etsy knows in the future, if this seller were to file more DMCA reports, you would also have a chat history with Etsy, which they keep on file, your chat history with them. You would have that where you could refer and say, look, on April, whatever, or May, whatever, I contacted you about this exact issue because the seller's filing false reports. So,
yep. We actually dealt with that directly when one of our major competitors, when we first started, who created similar products to us, started attacking us and trying to file false claims, and they ended up losing their entire business because of it.
Yep.
Does Etsy still require us to list if we have multiple accounts on both accounts?
Yes. Technically they do. I don't think that it's something that they really check for. I've never seen it, but if you want to stay safe, just to make sure that you're following their policies, when you are editing your Etsy shop, on your storefront, you know how there's that little picture of yourself on the right side directly under your banner, and you click on your name and it takes you to like where all your favorites and stuff are. You'll have a little tiny personal profile there, just a itty bitty little spot up in the top left. That's what you specifically need to edit. I would just put owner of, this shop, this shop, this shop, copy and paste it. And then if you've got multiple Etsy accounts, just make sure that it's pasted in all of them.
Do you have any tips for fighting shiny object syndrome? I have 3 decently performing shops, but need to focus my time better.
I definitely have shiny object syndrome.
Me too.
So you will never be able to do all the things that you want to do at 100% capacity. And it's okay to take care of things in shifts.
Yep.
For me personally, I usually have to set one thing aside in order to make time for other things. For example, right now I'm preparing for the Handmade Alpha Academy enrollment period and the marketing for that. And I have a couple updates to make to the program. And because of that, I'm building another course that's going to go with HAA. I've had to put that aside for a little while so I can focus on these things. And the same goes for if you are taking a bunch, maybe you're taking like yoga and you go to the gym and you take your kids to soccer practice, you might realize, oh crap, I take my kids to soccer practice and I could technically go to yoga, but I'm going to be so tired during yoga. Like maybe during soccer season, you have to cut yoga out because we only have 24 hours in a day. And you also have to make time to take care of yourself. It's okay to prioritize things in shifts. And it's okay to not really have a whole lot of a plan if you're one of those people who works better, sitting at the edge of their seat, which is how I am. The thing that helps me the very most is having my physical planner. My legend planner, the thing that I talk about all the time, our neurodivergent episode that we did 2 or 3 weeks ago. Lots of people love that one because it goes over how I personally organize things, the things that help keep me on track, the tools that help to keep me motivated. I cover everything that I use, and I go pretty in-depth about the Legend Planner in there. I also have videos on my channel about the Legend Planner. Not an affiliate. It's just the planner I personally use. But the point being, having a physical thing that sits on your desk that is always in your face, that you can't ignore. It's not an app that you forget to open. It is a physical item that you have to look at where you have wrote down at least 3 things that you need to do every day. If you add more than 3 things to do every day, then you're probably going to experience overwhelm. You might get that like fatigue from failure where you don't actually feel joy from completing some tasks because you didn't get all your tasks done. That's why I always say, give yourself 3 major things to do each day. And maybe, Monday you work on one shop, Tuesday you work on another, Wednesday you work on another. Or maybe you do it, as a weekly thing.
2 hours a day for each shop.
Right. Or maybe one week you do one shop, the next week you do the other, the third week. As long as you're making sure that you prioritize things like orders and customer communication.
Yeah, of course.
Those things can't wait. But when it comes to like making new products or improving SEO, you could do it on a weekly basis.
Dedicate your brain space to one thing at a time, because we've always told people more than one shop. 2 shops doesn't make double the money, but it does make double the work.
Yeah.
So just focus your time where you think, and if one of them is dying off and is not a shop that's ever made much money, cut your loose ends and focus on the ones that are performing. It's hard to say because everyone's situation is unique. Is the integration with Shopify worth it, or should I go with Etsy only? I'm assuming she means, should I sell on Shopify or should I do Etsy only? I think for new sellers, Etsy's a better option. Shopify is more expensive, and you have to know what you're doing with advertising off of the platform before you're going to even start making any money. So.
And SEO, and there's a learning curve. It's going to take more time. They do have a sign-up thing right now where you get your first... So the first 3 months are $1. So you get $1 a month for 3 months. So that was pretty cool. But after that, it is... Is it $30 or $39.99?
It's a lot more than Etsy, but anyway,
per month. So it does get hefty after the first 3 months.
Yep.
So I would start with Etsy.
Question: Etsy ads on Facebook, are the listings shown personalized for the user, or is the same ad shown to all users? Curious, because I keep seeing one of my listings in Etsy ads.
It's personalized, unfortunately. I always feel so bad when like one of my students will post a screenshot and they'll be like, oh my God, I saw myself in an Etsy ad. And I'm like, yeah, that's personalized for you. It's going to show you things based on past search history, items that you've looked at. Especially if you've looked at an item more than once. If you like keep going back to an item, Etsy will try to, coax you into completing that purchase. If it's something that you favorited, or because you spend a lot of time in your own shop, it's more likely to show you those items. It's a bummer. But I would rather that way, you're not celebrating for the wrong reasons.
$40 base per month.
Yes, 40. Okay, so $39.99. So that's pretty hefty. I was actually shocked. I was not expecting it. And their themes, thankfully I built, my own. So I was able to use a free theme and then, build off of it. But if you want one of their like really nice themes, they start at $100. Like their themes are hefty. Again, not something I expected.
We got this one. You're probably new here, so you haven't heard us talk about this, and that's fine. I follow several people to learn more about how to build a successful Etsy business. Some of them say you need hundreds of listings and others say you don't. What is your recommendation? Stop following those people. Stop listening to those people. They don't know what they're talking about. And that's not because I want you to listen to us. I do think you should have a plethora of people that you listen to with different opinions and come up with your own opinion. But those people are wrong. The example I always use, if this person has 1 million people that follow that channel and 1 million people watch that video, and 1% of those people all go and do that, how many new listings were just created? Now, multiply that by the thousands of TikTok creators who are saying the exact same thing with the millions of people that see all of these videos. Now you have tens of millions of listings going up every year of the same exact garbage. And Etsy, and a lot of people say, I used to make a lot of money on Etsy and now I'm not making as much money. And I have a bunch of listings. And here's the thing. A lot of these people were people who were legitimately successful on Etsy. And the reason why they're losing money is because more people are coming in and more people are selling the exact same thing or very similar thing to them. And Etsy is working on making it where one shop can't dominate page one anymore. That's like in their thing, that if you're I corrected this on one of the E-Rank posts the other day. Somebody was saying that basically that exact same thing. They were thinking that if you make too many sales, that the Etsy's going to dump your traffic back and they're going to make it where you're not as visible anymore. What Etsy does is they'd make sure that the shop with a perfect score that has perfect SEO isn't the only thing showing up on page one when somebody searches for that product. So if you have a really successful shop and now there's 500 other people that are coming in selling the exact same thing as you, they're trying to give everybody their equal share of space on those pages if they look like they're doing the right thing. Etsy says that directly that they're doing this. So if you're following the advice of these people And so a lot of their other advice, you're coming in with hundreds of thousands of other people who are doing the exact same thing. You might get an initial boost of traffic because you're following a trend or whatever, but trend chasing dies. You can't, it is not a recipe for long-term success. You might make 10, 15 grand in your first year, but is that really worth it when you could spend a little more time making less money over the long run and have a sustainable 10 to 20 grand every year? I think that's significantly more intelligent to do than that kind of stuff. And I'm not attacking you. I just,
these coaches, what they're doing,
they're not coaches. They're TikTokers with big boobs who get on camera and tell you to sell. Am I wrong?
No, the thing that they are relying on is, the idea that you're more likely to win if you list as many things as possible. But what they lack, and the thing that they never really acknowledge, is that there are real human beings with credit cards who have to be inspired enough by the product that you're creating to get up, find their wallet, find their purse, dig out their credit card, type in their credit card number because they liked your product enough. If you're making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listings and how to list 100 products a day, how much time and how much quality realistically are you putting in to these products that you're listing in mass? You're not creating something for humans. You're not creating products with intention. You're not creating products that are meant to serve people. You are prioritizing the idea that you're going to make a butt ton of money the more products that you list, when in reality, you're racking up your listing fees. You're not learning anything when it comes to well optimizing your listings and actually spending time with your stats and learning how to take things that are doing well and, help their performance and designating ad revenue towards them. You're not making business-minded decisions. You're just hoping that if you list as much as possible, maybe, some of those things will do well. When in reality, a lot of your profit is just going to get eaten up by the number of listings that you have that are going to be, accumulating listing fees. So is it a strategy? Sure. Do I see many sellers, especially new sellers, find any level of success from doing it? No, I don't at all. And it's why Printify flew me all the way to Latvia, first class, to go talk about making sure that you have a defined niche, making sure that, you care about the products that you're creating. Quality. You're serving humans. You're trying to take people who, are shopping, who are trying to find products that represent them. And you're trying to, convince them that you have something that's worth them spending their hard-earned money on. Like, have respect for those people. It just, I don't know. I think that there's a huge disconnect from the money-making side. The money is just like this thing that people aim for, but they forget that every single dollar was a hard-earned dollar by another human. And working with people and caring about people and communicating with people and creating quality products for people with intention and just having, a care there rather than just trying to saturate. It's something that over time, I think that we just start to forget. I don't know. But
it drives me nuts as a course creator, because the end of the day, what they're trying to do is sell you their AI generated course. That's what it is. And that there's other YouTubers on the platform that do the exact same thing. We get questions about other people's courses, and a lot of the times we're the people that end up doing the freaking damage control when somebody goes and spend $5,000, $8,000, $15,000 on a course that ended up being basically nothing that they spent their savings on, and now they're out and screwed. Just, I don't know. It's hard to justify without sounding like we're tooting up our own horn because we sell a course. But we've been selling a course for a long time and have success to show for it. We're not just using AI generated slop that all these people, and that's what it is. People are going into ChatGPT, asking them how to make a bunch of money, and they're trying to fool the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's not that people are stupid. It's that people are ignorant and ill-informed. And just like when we came in, hopeful and optimistic. And that's what they're selling you. They're selling you this hopeful, optimistic treasure of being able to be self-sufficient on your own income. Realistically, a lot of you can be. A lot of you can be successful on the internet selling things very clearly. We've shown you tons and tons of cases, and we have even more just random people that'll pop in that we've not talked to in 6 years that'll say, man, I got halfway. We just had one a little while ago. We got halfway through HA and it got too busy and I can't do it anymore. Like you're I don't know.
Because
it gets me riled up because I cannot stand, it's trend chasing, and that's the trendy thing now, is to sell a course. And we hopped into it right before that got popular. And now it physically damages our ability to sell because we have to spend most of our time doing damage control, and no one trusts us because they buy 5 or 6 other courses from a bunch of turds and then end up coming to us and being like, I really don't want to spend more money because I've been burnt so many freaking times.
And I understand it. Like
I've been burnt.
Yeah,
it happens. I
get it. The thing is, and hopefully it's something that you guys see, and something that I try to communicate. I try to not, overdo it just because I feel weird. Like, I don't want to brag on myself, but you guys know that I used to be a teacher and I didn't go to college, but the University of Dayton had me teach their marketing class. These kids, I say kids, some of them are older than me, but these, college students, they didn't even know what a marketing funnel was. I was coming in there trying to talk about omni-channel marketing, for the University of Dayton's omni-channel marketing class. And I go in there talking about diversifying a marketing funnel, and they're staring at me like they'd never heard the terms marketing funnel. I'm like, have you guys covered marketing funnels? They had no idea. So I had to backtrack and explain what a marketing funnel, that is the most basic marketing concept. That is the most bottom line, thing that every entrepreneur should know is a marketing funnel. And these college kids had no idea what a marketing funnel was in an omni-channel marketing course. And this is why, I hate getting on the topic of college. I talk at my high school. I'm actually, the high school I attended, I'm going to be on their board of directors next year to help them update their curriculums and mainstream it because, I'm one of the most successful people to come out of that school, and they want me to come help them. One of the things that I talk to the kids at, the high school kids, because it is a tech school, I talk about how there are so many career paths that you can take that don't require college, especially when you really optimize for your specific skill set, because college is so expensive. And I came from such a low income area. These kids don't have money. Their parents don't have money. And unless they can, land a scholarship, a lot of them just think that college isn't something that they're going to be able to achieve. And then they get in this mindset that they're going to fail because of it. And I'm like, look, dude, YouTube and, online courses and MOOCs, which are free college courses that you can take. You don't get credit for them, but you can get the information. All of this stuff is more accessible than ever before. You can learn anything that you want to, and you don't need the degree as long as you're not getting into a career field that requires one. That's
exactly what I did with my college. Yeah. I went to school for exercise and nutritional science. I dropped out after I got what I needed. Right. I just quit. Anyway. We've got a million questions.
I know.
We've answered 8.
I'm sorry. I don't rant a whole lot, but I felt like it today. It makes me
The internet is full of crap, and the majority of it's crap. Just be careful. Listen around, and what the majority of people are saying is usually not the correct answer. You got to remember to think for yourself.
And Chuck, do you have a link for your course? It's
yeah.
It doesn't open till June 14th, but if you open up the video description, there's a link where you can sign up to get an email when we open, because we can only take students for 10 days total.
And we don't send 45 emails a week.
No, I try to keep it pretty modest there, but during the 10-day window, I email a lot, but that's because
I said not 45 a week. We're not the kind of people that here's our course and here's our other thing and here's our other thing. We don't send you 5 emails a day. You'll get an email a day and then 2 on the last, and that's it. I struggle with using my 10 photo quotas and using videos from my religious cards and gift store. Is it best to make a video of me making the product or someone opening the card? Personal opinion. Be artistic with it.
Yeah, test it. Try different ones. There's no way to answer that. It's your customers who are going to dictate what works best. I think that trying both would would be a good idea. I can't answer that though. That's going to require testing because it's ultimately your ideal customers who are going to determine whether or not something's successful. The metric that you're going to need to look at is whether or not those listings sell. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with testing both. Both sound like a great idea.
Is AI art worth it? Boy, this one gets people riled up. Here's what I'm going to say. No. Few reasons for that. The majority of people that ask, is AI art worth it? Are people
worth it? What does worth it mean?
Well, hold on. Let me
You got it.
The majority of people who ask, is AI art on Etsy worth it, are not people with the work ethic to make a business succeed. And if you're just wanting to put simple prompts into an AI generator and slap them on clothing and bags, it's not likely going to succeed because you're way late on the draw there. People who were early doing that kind of stuff, who have shops with 50 to 100,000 plus sales, who are selling that stuff, are going to be, and it's, again, Etsy's working on making it where those people don't dominate the single page. But for the most part, they're the people that are trusted for that kind of thing. Also, people are becoming aware of the AI content. It doesn't necessarily mean people are thinking more negatively about it. And as a matter of fact, I don't think the general populace really cares.
It's mainly the art community.
It's mainly the art. Yeah, it's mainly artistic people and people who support artists and are married to artists and who know artists and are friends with artists that actually care, which unfortunately is a significantly lower portion of people than people who don't care. But I don't know you, so I can't say whether or not it's worth it for you. If you're someone who's, and again, I'm not advocating for AI. If you are the kind of person who is passionate about making AI art, like you're the kind of person that will spend 10 hours refining a prompt and using multiple tools and using maybe pictures that you've taken reiterated by an AI in a unique way, which is probably the closest to ethical thing that you can do, then maybe, because you might have a unique approach to selling AI generated art without having to have the skill set of manually creating the art yourself. I still think it's better to manually create the art, but I know some people, especially people who are disabled, literally have no way to do so. But the majority of people who ask this question are not the people with the kind of work ethic who are going to be able to make that succeed. Again, I'm not judging you in particular. I don't know you. That's just the general case.
Based on our observations, working with tons of stuff, I do not see very many shops that are just AI generated products.
Most of them don't succeed. That's just how it is.
I don't see very many that have more than a handful of sales. I see a lot of them though. I see an industry that is very oversaturated, without a lot of direction, without, a lot of time put in, because it's kind of like a corner cutting method for many, not for all, but for many it is a corner cutting method. And building a business isn't about cutting corners. It isn't about speed. It isn't about, it's about learning. It's about my whole quote that I say, success is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey. If you are only focused on reaching a specific destination, you are never going to be satisfied. It is about looking out the car window on your way to your vacation destination and enjoying what you see along the way. It's about the knowledge and the skills and the experience that you gain on your way to success. Because I tell you what, no matter what you personally define success as, the minute that you reach it, you're just going to move the bar again. So yeah, I like he said, not advocating for AI art. I think that it is completely overdone. But we are never going to tell you that you're not going to be successful with something, because that's not for us to choose.
Nope. And I mean, if you're good at offsite advertising and maybe you're funny or you have a unique approach to selling it, even if your art is generic, there are ways to make money off of it. But if you're just making standard AI slop, it's probably going to get lost in the sea of other AI slop. Yeah. The sea of people uploading hundreds of listings.
Right, exactly. And I'm sure you guys see it. I'm sure you guys see it all the time, listings that are, you're just like, ugh.
Wow, another Christmas AI generated Santa Claus with a bunch of barely reindeer looking reindeer in the background.
Reindeer with 6 legs. Yeah.
And it says Foop.
Foop. Merry Foop.
Merry Foopmas. And they didn't even bother to, yeah, anyway.
Merry Foop. Somebody make that shirt, please.
We don't do individual shop critiques, Laura, but I guess if you tell us what you sell, I mean, if you're selling face masks and stuff like that, that would make sense, but it's hard to tell. Again, like we were talking about earlier, Etsy's working on making it where big shops don't dominate page 1, that everybody gets their fair shot as long as they're doing all of the processes, which is why we tell you to fill out your sections and have your FAQs done and all these different things, because they're using AI to look at a lot more than just your shop and listing quality score now. And they will continue to look at more. What happens in the algorithm if I change an item in a listing? I have 15 listings that won't sell, but I still, and then it cuts off.
What happens with you mean you're swapping? Are you asking if you're about updating the listing itself?
It sounds like they're talking about, here's my listing for this item. I'm going to just use that exact existing listing, but change the item that's in it. Don't do that, because if people have favored it or whatever, it changes, it can upset them, and there's issues with that anyway.
Yeah, Etsy doesn't want you to do that. If you mean like what happens with the algorithm, if you make an update to the listing, I mean, if they're not selling, you can't break what's not working anyway. So I would definitely spend some time with that listing and, try to determine what the issue is. It might not even be the SEO that's the issue. It could be something like the photos. But if what's going to happen with the algorithm is, right now it knows you for one thing, and maybe it doesn't know you very well because maybe the listing isn't well optimized, or maybe customers just aren't engaging with that listing enough for Etsy to pay a lot of attention to it. And maybe you make changes to it and it does better, or maybe you make changes to it and it doesn't do better, and then you have to make more changes. It's just a process of refinement. Etsy's just one big science experiment, and nobody, even over at eRank, Anthony Wolf, our CEO, he will not be able to tell you if your keywords are going to work for you. He's going to say, test. You have to test. It's a science experiment. There's nobody that's going to be able to guarantee that a listing is going to do good. Even if I or Pam Duthie or Anthony Wolf himself were to sit and optimize your listings, they could still fail. Yep. Because there are a lot of other factors that contribute to the overall success of a listing.
And Laura replied, what do you sell? We're asking you what you sell.
Yeah.
I can better answer your question if you tell me what you sell.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do an individual shop critique, but we might be able to provide more insight. We might not.
Sure.
How would you recommend handling maternity leave? I know vacation mode isn't a good idea.
I had somebody else say that I didn't recommend vacation mode. Vacation mode's fine. It's not that it's not. I've never said not to use vacation mode. In fact, I tell sellers not to be afraid of it. There is this common, misconception that vacation mode kills listings, but that's not the case. So basically, the thing that Etsy uses in order to kind of help you maintain your position on a search page, and your listing quality score, but also the way that customers engage with your product. Are they what keywords are they finding them for? When they find your listings in search, what did they type in to find that listing? What made that connection? What did they do when they found your listing? Did they click on it? Did they favorite it? Did they buy it? Did they leave a review on it? These are all positive signals that help Etsy to better understand your listing and who they should show it to and where they should rank it in search. So if you are on vacation mode and your listings are inaccessible, or if some of your listings are sold out and they're inaccessible, or if you've got some listings that are deactivated and they're inaccessible, what happens with those listings is they go away. And they don't lose their listing quality scores, but they are not accessible for shoppers to positively interact with anymore, which is the thing that Etsy uses in order to rank those listings in search. So if you're on maternity leave for a while, those listings are probably they're going to keep their listing quality, all that positive history that they had in the past, but they're probably going to lose a little bit of their rank and position. Now, the thing is, because they still have positive history, it's not that hard to wake them back up and tell Etsy, hey, I am back. I want these listings to be found again. I recommend just planning ahead. Maybe you run an ad campaign right when you return to help, get those listings back in place. Maybe you list some new products right when you return. If you've got a social media presence, maybe you run a sale and you advertise it on social media. So you drive traffic into your shop so that you can start building those positive customer interactions again, which is going to help you to resume your position, because you're going to say to Etsy, hey, I'm back. Look, shoppers are interacting with my stuff. Show my stuff to more people. Maternity leave is the perfect excuse to turn on vacation mode. You have something that is significantly more important than
a small loss in profits.
Right. You have something that is so much more important that you are never going to be able to get back, which is the time with your infant. Spend time with your baby. I'm sure that there's probably some guru business coach out there who will be, profit, make time. No. Spend time with your baby. You do not, the stress that you experience will impact both your body, your recovery, your baby, even your breast milk. You do not want to put that stress on you or your baby. Enjoy that time. And when you feel ready, you can resume your shop.
Keep your cortisol down, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Has anyone had an issue with their billing card being deleted weekly?
Ooh.
Every Friday without fail, I have to re-enter my card so I can get paid on Monday. Etsy says it's not happening, but it is. Open up a new support chat. Don't continue emailing the same one.
Yeah, continue reaching out to them. And if they say it's not happening,
take a video on your cell phone over the next 3 weeks being like, hey, I'm going in and enter my card information. My card's not here. My card's not here. My card's not here. Also, your cell phone probably has an option. You'll have to Google your specific model for you to put the date and time that's on it. Timestamp so you can prove that it's the day that you say that it is. Yeah, definitely. Definitely get with them. And this one's a little hard to read. She apologized for the autocorrect.
Oh, that's okay.
If you have a listing now and in rank checker it has slid downwards already in position 30 plus, do you change the SEO on it, and how radically?
So when you first list a product, Etsy gives those listings a slight boost in search in order to kind of gather data about how customers interact with those listings in search. It's the time period when Etsy collects data about who your target audience is and who they should be showing your items to. And, they collect data both from the shoppers who are interacting with listings, and then they're collecting data from you as the seller and, who's clicking on your listings and what they searched for and how they interacted, yada, yada. Same concept that we just talked about with vacation mode. So what was the actual question? Oh, your rank slid down. It makes complete sense because, during that boosted period, if you did not get positive customer interactions, you are, experiencing that listing falling into a more natural position in search. My suggestion is always the same. Let listings sit for 60 to 90 days. Let them sit, that 4-month time frame that a listing is listed, and before it renews, it renews every 4 months. That to me is a perfect amount of time to, gauge your quality, your SEO. Now, here's the thing though. If it was ranking well because it was boosted and you still, over time slid down, that tells me that people weren't interacting with it. So is it the SEO that's the problem? Or could it be the product photos? Could it be, the pricing just doesn't align? There's a lot of other things that could be taking place, especially if the listing was ranking well for that term. That means Etsy knows what the product is. You just didn't get any customer interaction during that time period, which might mean that there's something else going on. So I personally would try to tinker with other factors like your photos and things first. And then, isolate those experiments. Obviously, you don't want to change the photos and change the SEO and change all, because then you won't know what worked. Isolate the experiments. Yes, I know it's really annoying to have to wait, those long periods of time and monitor them. But really that's the most scientific way to actually narrow down what the issue is. And then if you've changed the photos and, you've adjusted your pricing or made sure that you're aligning it in the top 10% of your target audience, or I'm sorry, your market, your industry for, whatever that product is, and you still aren't seeing results, then that might be where I would go in and play around with some keywords.
Oh, there were more. Here, I was just kind of scrolling through. Pam said, I think Reverb was performing well last quarter. And then she had also said that Reddit is saying that the main owner of Fender. Again, it's probably because Fender needs to make some money. I don't know what I haven't been looking at their investor reports. I love Reverb. Obviously, I love Reverb. They only made like 70 of this guitar, and I was only able to get it because of Reverb. John Petrucci handpicked all of the top woods for this particular set of guitars.
Don't get him started, guys.
I'm so proud of this guitar.
Don't get him started. He'll start grabbing more. There's like 10 of them within grabbing distance.
I've got another JP15, a custom sir you can't get anymore. Yeah, I absolutely love Reverb. Anyway.
Cassie is next.
I think you usually say to not change all of your SEO at once. Yep, it's like our number one rule. I know my SEO needs some work. Do you guys recommend to only change 1 to 2 listings a day? Is there a better tactic?
So I really think that it just entirely depends on your strategy and how your listings are doing. I just told you guys not to encourage him.
At the end of, when we're done with questions at the end of stream, I'll show you a couple more guitars.
If you have a ton of listings, and none of them are performing at all, again, context means everything. If these listings are so broken that nothing's doing well, and you're not afraid that you're going to lose traffic because you don't have any traffic to begin with, sure. The main issue is, again, not being able to isolate an experiment to know what exactly is working. I use this example in my videos, but if you've got 3, plant pots and you're trying to see what liquid makes plants grow the best, and, you pour Mountain Dew in one, water in one, and coffee in one, you'll be able to accurately gauge because you've isolated the experiment and you can watch each plant grow and see which one grows the best. But if you take one pot and you pour water in and Mountain Dew in and coffee in, you will not have any idea of what liquid made that plant grow if, assuming that the plant doesn't just die. So isolating experiments is really the only way to find out what is working so that you can replicate that singular thing across multiple listings. The reason that you don't want to go and edit all of your listings at once is because if you have a shop that's performing and you go and make a ton of changes, you will never know after making all those changes what you did wrong if your entire shop were to tank. And it makes going and undoing that thing really, really difficult. If you've got a lot, 1 to 2 listings, sure. It's not about, it's not about changing so many per day. It's not like the algorithm smites you because you've changed too many listings that day. That's not what it is. It's about making sure that you don't make a catastrophic change that impacts your entire store because you didn't isolate your experiments and you don't know what you did wrong because you made so many changes. The track changes tool over at eRank is a really effective way to actually keep track of those things, though, because you can pick a listing, track it for a week before you make changes. Just go in, click track changes on that listing so you can kind of get a baseline of data for your views, favorites, and sales of that listing if that listing needs help, And then when you go make those changes, the track changes tool will show you the exact changes you made on what date. That way, if you make a change that hurts you, you can go back and copy your whole title and your tags and be able to basically restore that listing to how it was previously so you can fix things if you end up messing something up. But then you can see how those changes directly impact your views, your favorites, and your sales. So, that's a really great way to actually spend time monitoring, those changes. But yeah, it's not like the algorithm just gets mad because you change too many things. It's more that you need to be really, really good at noticing when a specific change resulted in, good or bad so that to either avoid that change in the future or replicate that process across more listings.
I opened a shop without proper planning 2 months ago. I haven't sold much, but I know now how to do good SEO, good listings, etc. Do you recommend that I open a new shop and benefit from the honey money period?
Honeymoon period?
Honey money. They said honey money. Honeymoon period.
There isn't one. That is a myth. There is no magical boost that new shops get. That is a complete misunderstanding of the Etsy algorithm. That is spread by Etsy YouTubers who don't know what they're talking about because they don't know how the algorithm works. So new listings get a slight boost in search so Etsy can gather information about that listing and study how customers interact with it. I have seen people who have had accounts, where they listed 10 years ago and, stopped playing with their shop. They completely walked away from it, didn't do anything with it, and then have come back and used that same shop and still have been able to build it to success. I have seen shops that have done absolutely awful, astronomically terrible, and they have been just fine, with a rebrand of the shop that they currently have. We also run surveys over at eRank of how many? 1,000 people? Pam, is it 1,000? People who recently made Etsy purchases, and we actually have asked them over the last few years if the age of a shop impacts their decision to buy, and an overwhelming majority every single year that we've hosted the survey have said no, they don't care. They don't care how old your shop is. So honeymoon period, not a thing. Just work with what you have. Avoid, for one, the risk of your shop being deactivated, because Etsy likes to do that sometimes with new shops, and having to repay that seller, sign up fee. 2 months is not a long time. Most sellers are bumbling around in their first 2 months trying to figure things out and not doing things perfectly. But you are right on par with most sellers. You're A-okay. Just work with what you've got.
Let's see. Etsy watercolor art for 9 years, making about 40,000 a year, and then 2023 sales have plummeted from thousands of visitors to 54 visits and 0 sales. What can I do?
There's a lot of things you could do. That's the time when Etsy grew from how many sellers did they have?
They had an explosive growth.
Yeah, they had like 3 or 4 million sellers, and then they exploded to like 9 million sellers, and now they're down to how many active sellers do they have now? They lost a bunch because Etsy got rid of a bunch of drop shippers. But either way, you're in an industry of art competing now in a time where there is AI oversaturation, POD saturation, and no offense to POD, I sell POD. But you're selling something that is going to be really hard to compete in now, but you can still stand out. How do artists stand out? Especially artists who you've got a very positive history on Etsy. Etsy is going to be very forgiving when it comes to helping you regain things like your search ranking. But the best way to do that, in my opinion, for an artist is to go to other avenues where you can start directing traffic. If you are actually doing watercolor painting, whether it be, digital watercolor or you're actually painting with watercolor, start doing speed recordings. I think that this is the perfect opportunity for you to jump in on other places where people enjoy watching the process. Speed paintings, where you paint and then you speed up the footage so they can watch it real fast. Representing yourself as an artist. Think about how artists in the past with, big names in the modern world, obviously, we're not going to get a lot of marketing advice from people like Picasso, but, we look at people like Thomas Kincaid, for example. He represented himself as an artist. He was the representative for himself. Bob Ross represented himself. He had a really cool story, and he created a way to build community and trust and an image around his name. Artists today have more accessibility to build avenues like this than ever before when it comes to TikTok, when it comes to YouTube. There are artists even on Twitch, Twitch streamers who will, have live streams of their whole process. And some people just like to sit in because it's therapeutic and they like to watch. Take advantage of some of these other avenues and start funneling some of that traffic so that you're not just relying on Etsy SEO alone. And it's going to be a lot of hard work, but it sounds like this is something that you're really passionate about and you actually have a skill. Share that skill with people and let them see the process.
Tequila Sunrise had replied, no, it's not the time of year. My sales were down 40% last year, and this year is down another 35% after that. I've been doing this for 8 years.
And what I just said kind of applies.
It does.
Too.
And I believe I found your shop. I'm not going to put it out there because I don't know if you want people having your shop, but I'm 99% sure I know what your shop is. And if it's true, you are in a hyper saturated niche, and you also have to consider what are you doing to stay on top? Are you doing the same old? Are you doing all of your offsite advertising? Are you doing something unique that causes your shop, regardless of the amount of sales that you have, you're not entitled to the same quantity of sales every year. If you're not putting in the same work that your competitors are putting in an extreme, one of the most saturated niches out there, you're not going to stay on the forefront. And
relevant.
And again, Etsy is doing what they can. Think of AI time frame. A lot of people are talking about my sales are down 80% in the last 3 years. What happened in the last 3 years? AI got real good. People are using AI, including Etsy, in order to ensure that people like you who have massive quantities of sales, again, aren't the only people dominating page one with your specific type of product. Now, it is significantly more important for you to have offsite advertising, having your email lists, and doing what you can to stay on top of it. If you're not doing that, you're not going to continue to succeed. And your shop is to the point where you could probably have your own website and be driving your own direct traffic and not having to worry about having to compete with the hundreds of thousands of other sellers selling the exact same thing as you. Again, I could be wrong, but your username is pretty unique, and when you search it, there's only one thing that pops up. So I'm 99.9% sure that I know what you sell. Anyway.
Yeah,
I heard somewhere if you don't have a handle on driving traffic to your Etsy shop, you shouldn't go to Shopify.
I read that a while ago.
Yeah, working on the basics of selling first and not having to worry about all the crazy nonsense on the back end is a great place to start. And then when you're comfortable with that, move on to something that requires more work.
Man, we're way up there, aren't we?
People know where the economy going. It's not uncertainty. It is 100% uncertainty because we're uncertain about what is happening, which makes the entire thing uncertain. We don't know. We know what moves we're making on our side, but everybody else is making different moves. What we're doing we're not the only economy in the world. And that's becoming especially true now. California just passed Japan for the fourth largest economy in the world. In a small handmade niche, a competitor copies my keywords and product ideas, listing items similar 1 to 2 days after me at lower prices. Not exact copies, but close. Any advice on handling this?
Unless you've got a patent on your designs, there's not really anything that you can do there.
And that still leaves the burden of proof on you to prove that they are copying you.
Here's the thing. If they're not creative enough to come up with their own ideas and you are the innovator, just out innovate them. I had the same thing happen with my jewelry business. There were so many people who were popping up trying to replicate some of the things that I did. So I just made my things get harder and harder and harder to replicate. You could always message them, say, hey, I've kind of noticed this, just curious, why you're using all my exact terms, or if keywords it's a little different because we've only got so many keywords to compete with.
It's not really
it's an unfortunate thing because you don't own, unless your idea is so unique that you can claim 100% ownership on it, and it's not just art, because obviously they can't just steal your art, but ideas that are similar, if you don't have any legal ownership over them, then there's not really a whole lot that you can do aside from try to, again, out-innovate them because they're probably not very creative if they're having to 100% rely on you. So make it as hard as possible.
Regarding Shopify, would you ever consider doing a review on the process and the costs of setting up and running it? Yes.
Eventually,
potentially working on it. Wee wee whoopee woo. My store isn't niche and I have 2,000 POD listings. Would you still recommend social media marketing? I don't really know how to approach it with so many different customer identities. You're speaking to the wrong people. We're the niche folks. I'm going to tell you to delete about 1,800 of those listings and niche down.
Yeah. Are you successful with any of those? Or is there anything stand out? The thing is, it's like Walmart trying to advertise, or Amazon trying to advertise. The only thing that they're really going to be able to talk about is the variety of things and maybe low prices. But neither of those things are huge motivators for building a target audience. And social media marketing is going to be extremely hard when you don't have a niche, because, if you only post one thing that I'm interested in, and then 90% of the time you're posting things I'm not interested in, then why would I follow you? This is why Printify spent all that money flying me to Latvia to speak about niches, because they know how important niches are. You are trying to build success by doing as much as possible, and you're, kind of becoming a creator of all and a master of none, when in reality you need to be a master of one. So I think that, really looking back at maybe some of our videos about branding, niches, maybe trying to develop a target customer would be a better place to start, because I'm sure that it's probably getting expensive maintaining that many listings. I mean, unless you've got a shop that's already super duper successful because you were there are shops, generic shops, that did really well because they got in at the right time before everybody was doing it, and they've been doing it for a while. If that's you, cool, keep riding the wave. But you're not, I don't think, going to be able to build a really good social media platform simply because you're probably spread way too thin when it comes to who your target audience is.
Not to mention, you also have to consider the fact that a lot of these people who did start early, a lot of people are like, oh, there's brand new shops that start up and explode. A lot of these people are people who had prior shops who were the OGs, and they use their social media to promote their new shops without really saying much. They don't use their shop name to promote, they promote their products. So when their shop gets shut down that had 50,000 listings, they've got backups of all that stuff. As soon as that shop gets shut down, they pop open a new IP address and they switch and make a new, and all of their offsite advertising, email list, all that stuff still exists. So their shops that were making 1,000 sales a week, they only lose a week, and then they're immediately making those sales again. People aren't looking at how many sales a shop has when they're talking about the same brand that they've been ordering from for 20 years. So anyway,
I love this question.
This will be the last one. Should we aim for August and autumn now?
Yes.
Thanks for the wonderful work. Yes.
4 months ahead at a minimum. So right now would be a great time to start thinking of, moving into early fall. Sunflowers are great because they're a great transitional theme, trend that we tend to see, as we move into late summer, because they're relevant in the fall. If you go into Hobby Lobby, they already have their fall line in. Hobby Lobby has a bunch of Highland cows, so I have a feeling that Highland cows are going to be one of our hot fall items. I did just release my spring and summer trend report, though. If you're still listing for summer, you could probably still get some late summer trends in. Be sure to check that video out from last Tuesday. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that if you're really, really, trying to get ahead, right now is the perfect time to start thinking about fall. Now, I did want to say, where'd it go? Chuck said, can you guys share any information on the course itself?
This
pricing.
Is time for HAA questions anyway.
If you guys have any questions about HAA, feel free to pop those in. Like I said, I'd rather answer those live than via email. I hate email. I'll email you guys if you want me to, if you want to ask questions via email, but I much prefer doing it live. So yeah, Handmade Alpha Academy is $997 if you want to pay the one-time price, or you can pay it off in 6 installments of $199 per month for 6 months. Once you're paid off, though, it's not a subscription. You're just paying off a plan, and then you're done. You're in for life. You get 12 months of eRank Pro covered for you. So that's $120 that I take care of, so that, the last thing that I want is for you guys to get an HAA and have to buy anything else.
Yeah, for real.
There are so many programs I've taken that have upsells and super expensive stuff you have to buy.
Upsells.
There's nothing like that. I take care of the eRank for you. The only thing that I recommend that you purchase is your domain name and domain email.
Get it before somebody else does.
But yeah, and it's cheap. It's you're not going to pay very much for it, and
a couple bucks a year.
It ensures that nobody steals your domain out from under you, because I've had that happen. Somebody hijacked my domain for $5,000. So, you get the Product Photography Essentials Workshop. That's the photography coach that I always talk about, Christina Nicole. She has an amazing photography course. I believe that, what does she charge? $297 for that normally when you pay?
Yeah, I think it's $297.
It's almost $300. And you get that included free with the program, and you can ask her for help. And you get lifetime access to that program. You can email me at any time and get direct help from me as you work through the program. You get annual access to our Alpha Holiday Bootcamp in the fall, which helps to get your marketing and whatever is relevant to us at the time we cover for the holiday boot camp. I don't know what we're doing this year for it, but that takes place in the fall.
It'll be different every year.
And I am currently building a new course that is going to focus on neuromarketing. It is going to be the most advanced course that I've ever created, but it is also going to be super user-friendly, very easy to understand, broken down like elementary school level, getting into more consumer behavior, consumer psychology, and helping you with psychological triggers, which we do cover tons of psychological triggers in Handmade Alpha Academy. It's the main selling point of HAA is that you get that neuromarketing and everything's backed by MIT case studies. I want to create an entire program about that on its own. All HAA students, no matter when you join, are going to get that program for free. You get both of them. Because this new program isn't probably going to be done till December, possibly later, but we're hoping for December. There is a chance that as of December, the cost of enrollment for Handmade Alpha Academy will likely go up because we are going to have to be offering support for 2 courses, because from that point on, everybody gets both of them. I don't know if we'll sell them individually. We haven't planned that far ahead. I just want to make sure that everybody knows it's not like a marketing tactic or a scarcity thing. There's a chance that I won't even be done with it, but there is a chance that I will. So regardless of when you join, you get that program. If it is done in December, enrollment price will likely go up in December, which means that if you want to make sure that you get the current price for Handmade Alpha Academy, June is the best time to join. I just don't want December to roll around and if it's not done yet and we still charge the same price, I don't want people to accuse me of oh, I only bought it in June because you said the price was going up. I'm trying.
It's not a guarantee at this point, but it likely will.
Yeah, I want to make sure that
Did you say how much it was?
What?
Did you say how much it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening when you first started.
$9.97.
Or $199 a month. $199 per month for 6 months. Unless it's paid off early, we will announce the payoff date later because I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, he has an early payoff date for people who watch us on YouTube. Yep. If you guys are in the streams, you'll get a date. We'll tell you during the streams, basically, if you pay it or contact him to pay it off before that date.
I cut off the final payment. You're paying the same amount as the one-time payment, folks. Also, 30-day money-back guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
No questions asked. We don't make you submit homework. All you have to do is say, please give me a refund. As long as you're nice, I'll give you a refund. I do have it in my terms that if you're not a butthead, I do not have to refund you for any reason. But the 30-day money-back guarantee is our own personal thing. So as long as you're nice, you're nice. I've never had to not. Okay. There were a couple people that asked me to show off all my guitars. So very quickly, this is my other JP15. Also, it's going to sound like I spent an extraordinary amount of money on guitars, but these are guitars that I've collected over the last 12 years. So it's not as much as you think. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous guitar. They only made 100 something of these. Those are my most 2 expensive guitars you've seen now. Most of my guitars are a lot less expensive than this.
He's so excited to show off his guitar.
I haven't gotten to do this in so long. This is my Sir Custom. I absolutely love this guitar. My main recording 7-string that I haven't recorded with in a long time because it's still got a Christmas hat on it. This is the original first release of the Brian Head Welch LTD.
From Korn.
You can't hardly see it because it's not reflecting, but it is a beautiful guitar as well.
Very purple.
Very, very purple. I have 4 more, but I'll show 2 at a time so it's quick.
Oh, Mr. Moore.
Oh, shush.
And then I'm going to tell a funny story that I've never gotten to tell before, but we just remembered it while we were doing yard work, and I really want to tell this story.
Pliny Custom. Absolutely lovely guitar.
You should mention that it's headless, otherwise people are going to think it's broke.
Yeah, it's headless. It's not broke. Very, very light. It's also hollow. 8-string. Same guitar brand. And then...
Oh my God.
Shush.
What did you guys do? Why did you guys do this to me?
They did it to me.
They did it to me. Y'all did it to me.
Y'all did it to her, yeah.
I'm watching the viewers just drop. Everybody's
they've been dropping. We've only lost 20. And then the last 2. These are from a small batch creator in Ukraine. This is a company called Valraven. Valraven, I don't know how to pronounce it. They make small batch guitars, all handmade out of Ukraine. I just dinged it. Absolutely beautiful. This is a one-of-a-kind that they made. Lovely guitars. Thank you.
That was Mark's Guitar Corner. Everybody liked the video.
I have a lot more than that.
He does.
I have way too many guitars.
Okay, so real quick, just super quick story time, and then you guys can go. You guys can go if you don't want to hear story time. You guys don't have to stay. I would like to tell you a story about how a fly ruined our last vacation. Because we've never told it.
Oh, the horsefly? Oh, wait. I do have one more before I break it. Also, an LTD base that is a special edition of a base they only made a few of. You, like, literally can't even find this anywhere anymore, and I bought it secondhand for almost nothing. You didn't know what he was getting rid of.
So,
I traded for it.
When we go to vacations, we don't go to crazy tourist destinations. We find the most off-the-grid Airbnb, you know, and usually we try to find one that has like a swimming pool because that's all our daughter wants. She wants to swim, but she doesn't want to swim around a bunch of people. So we find an Airbnb that has a pool, and that's what we do for vacation every year. We get away from everybody. We go hide in the woods. So last year we found this beautiful property. It had like a little sauna. We didn't even use that. It had a game room. It had, you know, this super nice pool and a hot tub and stuff. We have a hot tub at home, but it's always nice when the Airbnb has one. So we stayed in this beautiful Airbnb, and my daughter was so excited to swim. We were, you know, in the pool playing it. You know, he had his music playing. He got stuff to grill because they had a grill. And then hell broke loose. We had this horsefly. It was like this big, the biggest horsefly I'd ever seen. Where were we?
Massive boy.
Was it Pennsylvania? Is that where we were? Pennsylvania?
Yes, we were in like far eastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So this giant horsefly started just while we were in the pool dive bombing us, and it would land on our faces and bite. And the bites were so bad you could see two little
large pronounced holes that would just be bleeding.
Like blood dripping down our faces. And it was just ruthless.
Would not go away.
We had like 3 hours of us just fighting it. We had pool noodles swinging, splashing. I had citronella candles screaming, trying to hit it with the pool net to scoop the stuff. And finally we gave up.
Legitimately not give a crap what we were doing. We just got out of the pool and went inside.
We had to give up. We paid all this money to go get this, you know, this Airbnb with a private pool. And we ended up having to go inside. And we came back outside, and we were good for about an hour, and then he came back. Mm-hmm. And by that point, we're just like, screw it. Every time he would come, we would see him. We would all just dunk under the water. But I don't know. I thought it was a funny story about how...
then later that afternoon, we went back out, and he was finally gone. But like almost a full day we had to spend inside. It was pretty terrible.
Because a fly ruined our vacation.
And we're in one of those places that was Virginia.
Was it?
I think it was Virginia. Yeah. I don't know. We only go to like remote weird places, but that's, again, the problem with that is that we're in the literal middle of nowhere. So there's nowhere to get anything
to buy
to deal with it. You just got to wait till it goes away because the nearest store is like an hour and a half drive away because we chose a beautiful location in the middle of nowhere.
You got,
The flies really hate the smell of garlic. We used to give horses garlic powder in their feed, and it would excrete.
But what do you do in the pool?
And what do I do when there's no garlic anywhere?
We're in the pool. We're wet.
I think it was Virginia. I'm almost certain. We usually go to places like Virginia, and I don't go to normal tourist attractions. I hate going to places like Myrtle Beach and Gatlinburg, and it's just overcrowded. Find yourself, you'll spend way less money getting a more expensive Airbnb if you want a quiet vacation. You spend like $700-800 a day instead of, you know, most people will go and they'll get like a $400 hotel.
And then dinner.
And then they'll spend a bunch of money on the things that they go and do. If you like a nice peaceful vacation, spend more money on a nice location in the middle of nowhere, and you'll have just as much fun.
And bring your own food. Bring your own food to cook.
Yeah, we're make your own fun kind of people. We'll bring our Nintendo Switch and PlayStation and that kind of stuff, and we'll spend most of our time outside and then come inside. Yeah, reading. We'll read out in the woods in the middle of nowhere, quiet. I don't like to hear cars. And then at night you go in and you drink way too much and you play a bunch of Mario Kart, and that's how your day goes.
Yeah, everybody said hairspray. Well,
if we had some, we would. We don't use hairspray.
Sometimes I do.
Okay.
Anyway,
well,
guys,
we love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
We appreciate you. I scripted a whole month's worth of videos yesterday. Mark and I have been going to this super nice coffee shop to work.
Oh, it's been so awesome.
It has been amazing. I've been working so fast, just sitting at a coffee shop working, and it's always empty. So it's just us in there. It's huge, just a massive coffee shop.
Find yourself a little local business, not a Starbucks. Go find yourself a little place where some hipster who had a dream opened a coffee shop and give them some support.
Yeah, it's like they serve Indian food. And I don't know.
It's one of the shopping complexes. I'm sure a lot of you got. Ohio has a bunch of them where like an Indian restaurant will open and then they open a market and then they open a coffee shop and the whole thing is just run by like one person or a family of people and they all have like their own business. It's awesome. Yeah. It's some of the best Indian food I've ever had.
Super good.
Yep.
But guys, thanks for hanking out. Thanking for hanking out.
Thanking for hanking out.
I need to go attempt to record a video for Tuesday. I'm probably going to curse a lot because
don't you have a bunch of other stuff to record right after that too?
No, I'm not doing that today.
Okay, good.
I didn't want to. I was going to record for E-Rank
because I want to play Oblivion Remastered. I want to play Oblivion. Anybody ever hear that came out? Anybody that's been on Instagram the last 2 days? Is that the only thing you've heard about? That's what I'm going to do today.
All right.
I'm going to play Oblivion Remastered.
All right. Goodbye. See ya. Bye-bye. Goodbye. See you. Bye.